Being live streamed.
Okay, we're live streaming to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We are waiting on Michael Markman.
What about Clubhouse?
We
No
will-
club.
No, we're not.
We're gonna buy Clubhouse. I think Steve is up to $51. I think.
We're about to start a show. Steve, you wanna get you ready?
I don't see it. Where is it?
I mean, Dennis isn't even there.
Yes, he's here.
In the last few days.
All right.
Being live streamed.
Here we go. Here's Michael.
Dennis isn't even there.
I got it.
He's here.
Latency there.
It's me again.
I tried to get a cat.
And they just wouldn't come. Huh?
They're a tough union.
All right, gang's all here.
Let me hear an audio from Markman.
Hello, how are you? How do you do?
Uh,
How are you?
Little low.
you sound muffled and away from the microphone.
Okay, well, must be a reason for that. Oh, the mic's over here, that's why.
Man, Facebook has the real-time transcription going.
Yeah, I see.
Hello, hello?
We're about to start.
Does this work better?
You can shut the door now if
Everybody
you
who's
want.
watching, send out your
Well, you're still
send out your
you're still
mics, people.
low level and muffled.
send out your
Okay.
shares.
Hold on.
Hey, by the way, I have this tool that does real-time, kind of real-time transcription that works within Zoom. You want to try it out?
Go for it. Why not?
Cool.
Well, it has to get permission from the folks
Does
there.
it do it on the screen?
No,
Hello, hello?
I don't
No.
want it on the screen.
it won't be on the screen.
Okay,
I'm going to send you the link.
all right.
Did I mention I have a hard stop at 2:00?
Okay, I made it louder. Does this work for you?
Yeah, that's better.
I think it's
Okay.
better. All right, Steve. Get yourself centered.
Yeah, I will when I'm ready to go. Okay, are we ready?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is the Gillmor Gang, the first show of 2022. I'd like to welcome from London, Frank Radis.
Hello, Steve. Hello, gang. Happy New Year to everyone. It's going to be very hard for me to write 2022 for at least a month.
From Atlanta or near Atlanta, Georgia, is Brent Leary.
Yeah, I'm near it. Happy 2022. I feel energized. I'm ready to go. I'm going to do more talking than I ever have.
woo!
Yeah, you already have.
How many shows have you done today already?
This is the first one.
Oh, excellent. From Palo Alto, California, is Keith here.
I'm the opposite. My goal is to say as little as possible, but have as much impact as possible while saying it.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. And from the Seattle, Washington area is Michael Markman.
How do you do? I have no goals. I don't make resolutions. I don't make goals. I never reach them. I never miss them.
And no predictions either.
I might have a few predictions.
Oh,
Ooh.
it's a shift in the force.
Here's my first prediction. Steve Gillmor will ask us all for predictions.
Yeah, baby.
I don't have to ask. Frank will volunteer them. It's more a question of stopping him from predicting things. And then last but not least is Dennis Pombriant. Welcome, Dennis.
Reporting from the frozen north where we have a foot of new snow out that window.
Oh, my
Very
God.
exciting.
Let's see.
Yeah.
No, okay. And now I'll turn the job over to Frank Radis. Welcome, Frank.
What?
Oh, you're in charge.
Okay, so predictions. Brent. 2022, one prediction.
The Rams.
Yeah.
Is that a prediction or a medical condition?
Oh, there's, never mind.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I don't know what that means either.
I'm predicting that I'm gonna be a Rams fan for another year.
And
That's a
aren't they
lousy-
in the Super Bowl yet?
We'll see.
Brad,
I'm not ready to play with my emotions just yet. on that.
Brent has a bad case of the Rams. That's
I better look up what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, there was a club on 11th
Are you
Avenue.
reading it on the teleprompter? Is that what's going on?
the good thing is if you got a bad case of the Rams, it helps if you have a touch screen.
A big one.
It didn't take long for me to get completely lost.
Yeah. Have you gotten it yet? Is it set up yet? I mean,
I just ordered it. I won't come till next week.
okay.
The touch screen.
Yeah.
Are you like me, Brent? Are you like me? Do you kind of look at things for like weeks thinking no, 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 and then eventually you cave and say yes?
I do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. We all do that, don't we? I have a drawer full of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I came home and half of it was in a box. And I said to my wife, hey, what happened to all that stuff that was in that drawer? And she goes, what stuff are you talking about?
Okay,
I found
Frank,
it.
is that it for you?
You want it to be?
Uh,
Do you want it to be?
reverse
That's what you-
psychology.
Yeah, okay. No, that's not it. Because we haven't heard predictions from Michael Markman, who I know
Hey.
has predictions.
Go ahead.
Okay, the Democrats will hold the Senate and expand their margin.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Well, if they expand their margin, then the first part comes true.
Well, yes, that's true.
Okay.
But the first part could be true without the second part. So I'm predicting both things.
And to what do you attribute this counter pessimistic view of the universe?
I'm basing it on the fact that that Biden has decided that he's going to stand in the breach and guard democracy, and he's found a new robust voice, which is very different from what we've heard for the first year of his presidency, and he's getting great reviews for it. So I expect him to persist.
You know why though? Didn't when he said that, did anybody else get reminded of Gandalf the Great is you shall not pass?
Yes, and the
Nobody
Balrog
did.
went down.
I
What?
got this Lord of the Rings just jumped right in my head. With
You shall not pass.
Yes.
It comes from the Spanish Civil War. It's what they said to the fascists, the Mussolini not Mussolini, General thingy
Franco.
fascist.
Franco.
Oh,
Franco.
Generalissimo Francisco Franco.
Yeah.
Franco's rallying.
They shall not pass. No pasarán.
So that's where the Lord of the Rings got it from then. Thanks for ruining it for me.
Is that where Bilbo Baggins fought the Adder Cop?
And Brent, you're too young to know this, but all these guys fought in the Spanish Civil War.
I'm still fighting in this.
In fact, they were all fighting rams in the Spanish Civil War.
They were
Okay,
right.
so Dennis, do you agree with?
I carried a ram.
But it is
Are you
actually
still going?
amazing. Go on.
Is this still Frank's show? I just want to know.
Yeah, no, just for now.
I
Okay.
just want to say Franco. It's Franco's show. And it is amazing that when I was a kid, Franco still ruled Spain. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't he go away in the 70s?
There was a revolution in
I
quotes.
understand.
It wasn't much of a revolution, but there was a revolution. Portugal
Yeah,
and
that's-
Spain.
Even Saturday Night Live got into it when they kept announcing that Francisco Franco is still dead.
Yeah.
No, that's still
Well,
true.
that's when John Scally said that Franco was rallying, which was a huge rallying cry in the news business back then.
Oh.
All right. So, Dennis, do you agree with what Michael Markman says?
I think there's some plausibility to it. I don't know if I totally agree with it, but I think that the Republicans have significantly overplayed their hand, and they are all playing cool hand Luke. They're playing poker with a cool hand full of nothing. And I think something beats nothing. So yeah, watch this space.
So can you give me an example of something beating nothing?
Billy Preston.
Oh, I was gonna say that too. I really was gonna say.
So
But I tell you,
that was
I
directed
tell-
to Dennis. Hang on a second. We'll get to.
Okay.
So
In politics,
yes,
perhaps you're saying. I think anytime you have a situation where it's put up or shut up, the guys that put up are the guys that win. I think a great example might be John Kennedy's book, Profiles in Courage. The people that he documented in that book, all senators, made really tough, lonely decisions and changed history.
yeah, I've wondered about whether some Republican or several are going to stand up and say, this may cost me my seat in the primary, but this has to be said, and then say it.
You've already got somewhere between 2 and 7 in the House that are doing that.
There
question-
are no
the question is,
senators
how-
in the House. I'm
What's
talking
that?
about senators.
Oh, well, I wasn't reading minds properly, I guess. Yeah, that could happen. I don't know. Senators cost more, and they tend to stick.
Or they tend to flip wildly.
They tend to be very consistent from what I've seen. I mean, you look at Joe Manchin. We're looking at Joe Manchin saying, "What the hell is wrong with this guy?" But he really hasn't modified his opinions or his positions for a very long time. His positions at one point were in sync with Democrats. Now they're not.
I was thinking more of Lindsey Graham and what he said on the day after, and Mitch McConnell and what he said the day after, and then what they all said like 2 days after, which was, I guess, after the leader of the House, or the Republican leader of the House, went to Mar-a-Lago and kissed the ring.
Well, there you have the difference between a fad and a trend.
Yeah. That would something we would then call offend.
Well,
So
it's certainly offensive.
go ahead. Sorry.
It is offensive.
Okay, Frank, are we done yet?
No, Keith, what say you?
I think, the question is a little bit similar to, will the stock market go up or down tomorrow? The answer is I don't know. But when you don't know, you have to fall back on secular trends. You have to kind of go deeper and say, okay, well, what does logic say? And for me, logic says the stock market will go up, over some period of time, but maybe not tomorrow. And I think the political market tells me the backlash against left-wing wokeness is a strong driver of Republican votes and is likely to result in Republican wins, not losses.
So you don't agree with Michael Markman?
I'll go back to I don't know, but my gut says the opposite.
It sounds like what you're saying is the time scale is important.
Timescale is important, and I think what happened in Virginia is not an accident or a one-off.
Well, wait a minute. What happened in California an accident or a one-off?
California is pretty unique. It doesn't really tell you anything about the rest of the country, I don't think.
I don't think I think you're using two different sets of logic on those two situations. I think they're both one-offs, and I think it's impossible to know from each of those one-offs what that.
I'm in the it's impossible to know camp, but if you force me to choose, I'm going to say the Republicans have more wind in their sails than the Democrats.
But in the case of, it's hard to extrapolate from a single item. are a couple of unique things about what happened in Virginia. One is that there was a candidate who very successfully straddled being with Trump and being apart from Trump. And there was another candidate who was extraordinarily clumsy in the words he used. And I think that Democrats have noticed where that happened and will do it. So you can't assume that what happened at one time is what's going to happen every time.
What I'd say, Michael, is as a passive observer, almost like a journalist, I'll say what I just said. If I was an activist leaning in, trying to affect the outcome, my advice to Biden would be do something. The whole Manson thing, the whole, the money devoted to helping people become more human and deal with the times like childcare and so on and so forth. Do something, because the only thing that's really going to change the wind, in my view, is when the Democrats being able to be pigeonholed for being crazy woke people has to be replaced by the Democrats delivering stuff that we all need.
Would the first thing be the Voting Rights Act? And that's coming.
Well, the Voting Rights Act feels a bit self-serving, to be honest. It feels way too something that normal people don't give a shit about. Really, we might, because we're observing the political scene, but normal people, they care about, money in the bank, school, health, college loans, the stuff that affects their life, jobs.
Well, now, great. Now apply that to the results of the Virginia election. The winner of the gubernatorial election in Virginia was talking kitchen table issues. The loser wasn't. He was going after Trump and a very amorphous target. So I think if the lesson from the elections in Virginia and California tell us anything, they tell us the same thing that we heard in 2018 and 2020.
I wonder if we're talking around what the base might do. I mean, might they do something as insane as, say, January 6th again, that riles them up even more, that puts a big monkey wrench in this idea? I hope you're right, Michael. I hope you're right. I think we all hope you're right. But what can the base do something? Certainly they can do something that will make a lot of noise.
Well, the Republican base is at the moment focusing locally, not nationally. I think they're taking their cues from Steve Bannon and going after school boards, going after city councils, going after state legislatures, and that's where they're organizing. So I think one vulnerability that the Democrats have in certainly red states, but also in swing states, is putting so much attention on the national issues that they will lose all their outposts locally. All politics is local, as Tip O'Neill used to say.
Well, you add that to what we heard today, that a group of some 15 White House advisors are getting together to try and do something to stop the former guy from doing whatever it is he's been doing. So if you add that sort of national aspect.
Can you explain? I don't know.
So there was a report today. I think it had actually been mentioned in the Woodward book, the Woodward Peril, that members of Trump's inner circle in the White House are gathering this week, I can't remember, must be next week, obviously it's Friday, to discuss ways to try and go to Trump and say, you have to stop doing what you're doing. Now, I don't know that, obviously, that's not going to be the same as what the Republicans did to Nixon when they went and said, you have to stop doing what you're doing, get out. But it seems like the pressure is starting to mount.
Well, it really depends on what that advice is. If the advice is tone it down and attack another way, as opposed to get out, that ain't so good.
The words I heard were "tell him to stop it." Now, what does it mean? I guess the definition of is.
I think we all know what it
I mean,
is.
it's hard to draw in the wind, but the fact that he canceled his press conference for the 6th indicates that he's hearing something from someone.
Yeah.
He did stop one thing, but
Well,
then
maybe-
he issued a bunch of deranged statements. So it's really not clear what Trump will do.
Well, I
It's
think
an
his
odd
lawyers,
dance. It's a really odd dance that the Republicans and Trump are performing. They found him very useful up to a point, and at the moment, they still seem to find him useful, but maybe not as useful. He was a great tool in speaking to and galvanizing a voting base that they needed in order to accomplish their objectives, which has to do with putting people on the Supreme Court, on other federal benches, and lowering tax rates and reducing regulations. So Trump was a great
Cool.
useful tool for the Republicans. And at the moment,
Leninist terms, he was a useful idiot.
yes, yes, yes.
so is this,
So at the moment, I think that's being
2022?
renegotiated, and
Is
I don't know where it's going to come out.
Well, I question whether this is being renegotiated. I mean, unattributed Trump insiders having a meeting. I guess we could wait till the next impeachment to find out who they were.
Well, it's not going to be negotiated between Trump insiders and Trump. It's going to be negotiated between the Trump base and the voting booth. Can hold his base and direct his base, then the Republican Party will follow. They are, Lindsey Graham said it as well as it could be said. He wanted to get rid of Trump, but he realizes that the Republicans can't go anywhere without him at this point because Trump has more hold on his voters than the rest of the Republicans do.
So there's also been this group of Democratic representatives and senators, I believe, who are discussing trying to figure out ways to keep Trump from being able to ever occupy another office in the government. I find that to be interesting also. I mean, it all sounds to me like the chipping away at the marble, and I don't know what's going to come out on the other end of that, but there's more and more of that talk, and less talk seems to me of this. Oh, there's going to be a civil war. I don't even see that anymore. It's not like I see that in the press as much as I saw it a month ago.
Okay, well, we've run out the
Civil War.
clock on this this segment. Yeah. So any
Can I just say, Steve, can I say one thing about the base?
I'm not sure.
But it's funny when you were mentioning the base, my brain immediately went to Frank's stats from a couple of weeks ago, a few days ago, about the viewership of Fox News, MSNBC, and so on, and how small those numbers were. Yeah. And I started to think, the word base, in my mind, I translate it into hardcore activists. I think there aren't that many of them on either side. It feels to me as if, you're talking about probably 1 million people or less on both sides, maybe 2 at the best. So in a country of 300 and something million, the base is important if you're inside the bubble of the parties. But actually, it feels to me as if there's a lot to fight for intellectually, that isn't in the base.
Yeah, I think though, I think you're right. I agree 100% with that. But there is something about these people making so much noise and getting so much press that there is an influence that this small group has over the larger group, especially the larger group that, isn't thinking for themselves. They need someone or something to tell them where to go and what to do. And I think that a lot of America's like that.
So
This is like a soccer game where there's additional 3 minutes. Okay, you just got it. I'd like to change the subject. if Frank is willing to let me.
You know what? I'm done, Steve. It's your show. Take it away, babe.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, we're out of time.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I really am. Brent, I enjoyed your CRM Players show yesterday with every single residence in resident, or whatever the term is, that you've had since the beginning of the war. So can you tell me how the state of creator economy is going from your perspective?
I think it's just touching the surface, really, when you think about it. I think maybe last year was kind of I don't know if I would call it a breakthrough year, but it feels like something happened last year that didn't happen the year before. And it may be just kind of setting up for the next couple of years to really be pretty significant when you come to that creator economy stuff. And you know what? I think the thing that Keith said about what's the dude who's from the information, the guy that said
Sam Lessin.
Yeah, that he is investing in individuals as opposed to, the traditional give it to companies. I think that's maybe the most significant thing that happened last year that kind of tells you where things may be going in the next couple of years. There's so many of these content creators that have really significant audiences, like not like 10,000 or 20,000. We're talking 15 million. I mean, that I'll never get over that TikTok dude, the Cabby Lame guy. It's like got 120 million followers. I mean, yeah, exactly. So whenever you see individuals, and it's not just the numbers, there's a level of engagement that you got with these folks that you don't get from television commercials or things like that. So I think that Sam Lessin dude, he may be onto something here, and if he is onto something here, we know what happens is it'll be a pile on, and there's going to be a lot of money thrown at individuals, and that can lead to things that I can't imagine, because who can imagine? You give people this technology, they go and you think they're going to use it this way, and it goes like this. And I think we're kind of in the middle of the beginning of that.
My prediction, because I didn't give you one, and it goes down that road, Brent. There was a report recently that talked about how the creator economy was making more content in the news world that is being watched and cared about by more people that are watching it, that might be watching it on television, cable, or even on online news organization. And that's portends for bad news for a CNN Plus or something like that, because individuals are making more noise there than anyone else. And CNN Plus is actually taking a long time to actually happen. I've heard some interesting things about what they're planning on doing there with that, which we could talk about later. But I think that's where it's going. It is exactly what you're talking about.
So is this going to be secret, the interesting things that you heard?
No, I was talking yesterday about to a bunch of people who worked at CNN about the fact that one of the things that the original CNN did was it had a number of different kinds of programs. So it had, Elsa Clench doing fashion. It had an entertainment show. It had a sports show. It had a money show hosted by Lou Dobbs. It had all these other things. And what that allowed the reporters.
I'm just laughing at what the facial expressions. This one.
I'm stretching.
Wait a minute. Who did that? What that allowed the journalists to do was to have time to actually cover their stories, which don't.
By the way, that was me not being able to resist looking at Brent's monitor, and it played a video.
Oh no, you were looking at that? I was going to run that. I was going to look at that myself. But anyway, so what they're doing is the new CNN Plus, from what I can tell, is going back to that. And that should give, and these are new journalists that they're bringing in there, not necessarily saying these are the, it's not the news you need from the people you know, it's the news you need from people you haven't heard from yet. And maybe that's going to be some of these creator economy people. So if they draw those people into that mothership, that could be a big game changer. I have not heard that.
So there was a guy named Ben Smith, who was the media columnist for the New York Times. And we've talked about him in the past. I think he's brilliant. He and another guy named Smith, the Smith brothers, are
Cough drops.
That's what I thought. They're breaking away. He's leaving the Times. The other guy is leaving BuzzFeed. He's the money. He's the Jerry Moss in the A&M equation, and Ben Smith is the Herb Alpert.
By the way, that was a good documentary too.
It was excellent.
Yeah.
And they're going to start something new, which I've dropped into the newsletter and the Telegram terminal. What is it? Whatever that feed is, which is at Keith.
T.me/Gillmor gang.
Oh, excellent. I'm glad you're over your.
Well, I thought it was
panic about
t.me.com.
the wrong address. No, this is, this super is going to cover all of this. So this is a big deal, I think, what's happening with Ben Smith. He has been on Kara Swisher's Twitter space, easily the best show that they've ever had. I think their Twitter Spaces is now building out some of the stuff that Clubhouse has been adding recently. Clubhouse just added the capability of sharing to other Clubhouse people. In other words, that you, in addition to sharing it on the network or copying it and sharing it through social media, you can also share it to everybody you follow with a comment that says, I think this is great. And I think that along with replay is going to start to build a level of content that is going to quickly rival what CNN Plus is not going to get subscribers for. I mean, who's going to pay for that if it's available en masse and in glut form?
See,
I was surprised that they.
I also have a great admiration for Mr. Smith, but I haven't been able to find out much about what he's up to. Did you learn anything about what the?
Well, I posted two articles. One was an interview by a journalist who I don't know, who seemed to elicit a fair amount of information. I mean, if you read between the lines, what they're going to do is the key phrase that I think he uttered, Ben Smith did, is that they're going to serve an audience that needs respect from the media. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's an absolutely key concept here. For the last 6 months, I've been completely frustrated with the MSNBCs and the usual talking heads on the left, because they seem to refuse to respect the idea that even the people that they abhor may have some things right. And certainly Fox isn't going to do it the other way. And I doubt that CNN Plus, maybe what Frank's been hearing from some of these people behind the scenes, could be interesting in that. But there's going to be a fight over integrity and authenticity on the border between so-called social media and the mainstream media. And
it's interesting, Steve. It crosses over into something else. It's like a swing back against what you could think of as the centralization of a partisan point of view. Fox News Republican, MSNBC Democrat, CNN tending Democrat, but kind of swaying around a bit. And given the small viewing figures, there must be a huge audience for substance. It reminds me of what Tim O'Reilly wrote this long piece last week about Web3 that was similar, about decentralization and centralization, talking about how there was a lot of fakeness and in lack of substance in the Web3 world. I think the same is true in the media world, that these highly centralized yet successful in terms of their own business model news organizations don't represent what normal people want.
I wonder if these highly centralized news organizations are shooting themselves in the foot, simply because they are these big conglomerates, and they're aiming at the audience that will benefit them financially.
How do they do it, Frank? CNN makes, I think from its advertising, it makes close to $2 billion a year.
Yeah.
From an audience that's typically under a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
How do they do it?
Sleight of hand. You know what? I kind of mean that. There's going to be a change in the way the audiences are counted. Nielsen is absolutely a big problem right now, and everyone is trying to figure out a way to count the audience and to do the analytics differently. And I think that obviously that the online world is the way, and that's how it's going to happen. It's going to be more ComScore than Nielsen in the end. What I think that they will then find out is that the online audience is gigantic compared to the on-air or the cable audience. My sense is that cable, somebody wrote, and I love this line, cable is becoming the landline of media. And television as a broadcasting organization, television broadcasting is something even less than a landline. It's like one of those old those phones that you got to crank to get on to get the operator and ask her to help you. I even think that some of those things I said maybe a year ago that broadcasting was going to live on live events and sports and award shows. I don't see that happening anymore. I actually take that all back. I think it's all online. I think it's all going to be there, and that's where the numbers are going to be counted. They'll count them. There'll be millions more people counted, but they will be worth less in terms of the number that's attached to a viewer. So, what is a viewer worth on NBC? A viewer is worth a lot more money on NBC than a viewer is worth on MSNBC.
And I'll add to that my AT&T fiber bill, I called them up because SonicNet in my area were offering the same service using AT&T fiber because of regulatory reasons for a lot less money. So I called up AT&T. They reduced my 1 gig fiber bill from $90 a month to $50 a month.
Wow.
So the pipes are getting commoditized.
But are you using cable? Do you watch? You don't use cable.
No, I use YouTube TV, but they tried to upsell me to DirecTV streaming because they know the money is in content subscriptions, which, by the way, New York Times acquired The Athletic yesterday for $500 million. And so subscription revenue is for content is where everything's going. And cable is a subscription service for content. It's just probably not the way most people are going to receive it in the future.
Well, look at what's going on with let's say ESPN. They have Monday Night Football, and they have a traditional broadcast on ESPN, and then they have the Manning brothers on ESPN2, and they do it's a completely different way of viewing. It's a different experience. And then they have some other online kind of things that people could watch or participate in. And I think that's the way it's going. Amazon Prime, they've got Thursday Night Football. They've got their, traditional broadcasts. And then they also have these kind of satellite opportunities to experience the game. And if you don't have those multiple, I don't know if it's a multiple screen or just multiple pathways for not just the viewing experience, but a way for the folks to experience the thing in a multiple of ways, you're losing, and you may lose out. And so, yeah, I think traditional broadcast, it's almost like when you think of, when we were younger, and yeah, when we were younger, in certain instances, there's only like 3 to 4 options you had for watching. And so because the watching was only split into 4 ways, that means all the companies that wanted to get in front of an audience, they had to come to one of those 4, and because those 4 had the relationship. Now with all we're talking about, I mean, dudes in different parts of the world have 120 million followers, so they have a pathway of engagement that has absolutely nothing to do with the broadcast networks. Yeah, people are starting to think, well, yeah, why can't we either build our own, or why can't we associate with some of these low cost folks who have, not only do they have a list of millions of people, but there's actual level of engagement that you can't measure or get when you go to the traditional route.
The new TV 3.0 that's starting to come out in a lot of these communities, so the NTSC 3.0, will offer some opportunity for you to see a number of things on the screen at the same time. But that's not something that the online world hasn't already had for a long time. And new research came out just yesterday that said that 70% of American homes have some kind of streaming device. That is a huge number, 70%. That to me is the thing that's changing the whole world. Television is in such great disruption right now, and it's all because of the internet.
Amazon just,
any television set that's been sold in the last 5 years is a streaming device.
Yeah.
Amazon just said that they sold their 150 millionth Fire TV device.
Have you noticed what's going on there? Is it's kind of interesting. I don't know where it ends up, but Apple isn't playing there. Roku and Google are, and also Samsung. So Samsung has its own operating system called Tizen, and it has its own kind of smart TV platform. So does LG. It bought WebOS a few years ago, and it has its own. But the 2 big ones that are moving fast are Roku and Android TV. And now Amazon has launched TVs with Fire TV built in. Mm-hmm. Comcast, by the way, which owns Sky in the UK, has built Sky these TVs that have an OS built in.
Yeah.
So there's actually an operating system war in streaming TVs that Google, I think, is going to end up winning, which I wouldn't have said a while ago. Android TV is actually really good. It's like Apple TV, but built into a TV. And the Apple TV box is kind of not in the game.
The Android TV navigation system is really good. And I actually think that the winners are going to be the ones that perfect the navigation. Because, I jokingly I was trying to find some show the other day that I really liked. I enjoyed it so much. I'd seen it on the stream somewhere, and I couldn't find it. I went to every single one of my maybe 8 or 9 services that I'm buying right now, still trying to look for it, and couldn't find it. And I knew that it lived there somewhere. What that said to me was, I'm either stupid or I needed a new way to navigate to get there. And a few people said, oh yeah, try voice. Voice doesn't work. It kind of does, but it's.
Do you think Apple cares? Because what I've noticed is Apple TV, the app, is now available on all of these platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Apple TV Plus, the streaming service, or
No,
Apple
he's
TV?
talking about the fact that they Apple unbundled Apple
software.
TV, the
I'm watching
software,
Fire TV, my Fire TV.
and put it on Roku and
Right.
other of these streaming devices.
Yeah, and so it feels to me as if Apple is fairly serious about being a content subscription platform, back to that theme, and doesn't really care too much which hardware you look at it through.
Well, I still don't think I got the answer. You're talking about TV Plus.
I'm talking
On Apple
about,
TV.
well,
No, he's not.
it's
Apple
actually
TV
both.
Plus is a streaming service
Right.
with content, original content, mostly produced for and by Apple. That is not what he's talking about. He's talking about the Apple TV iOS, whatever
Yeah.
it's called, Web TV OS.
Yeah,
I
just
believe
to give
that's
it,
what it's
yeah,
called.
The little black box.
yeah. To give you an example, I can disconnect my little black Apple TV box, turn on my Vizio TV, load the Apple TV app, and have access to my whole movie library that I've been buying from Apple for the last 15 years. Not the Apple TV Plus shows alone, but my entire TV and movie library that I've ever bought from them, plus access to any channels I subscribe to through Apple TV Plus are there as well.
And the key phrase is playing it through a non-Apple device, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
There you go.
So that which leads me back to the question: does Apple care that it isn't built into these smart TVs at the hardware level? I don't think it does. I think
I agree with you. I don't think they do.
This reminds me of where RSS came out of a private company called Pointcast. Do you remember them?
Oh, I remember those days.
Yes.
yeah.
And that was, superseded by RSS, which was available on most operating systems and therefore became, a sort of web standard, in quotes. I think something like that is going on here.
Yep.
Makes you
Dennis, any
wonder.
thoughts? I know you're not particularly embedded in the television conversation, but any thoughts about what we're talking about?
I had one thought a while ago, and it's simply that it strikes me that cable is consolidating very homogeneous pockets of consumers that they can sell advertising to, which sort of belies the need for being all things to all people. It also says that there must be a lot of white space in the market if a few million constitutes a big customer base or viewer base.
Yeah,
So,
it's not about the viewers, I don't think, in cable. It's about the people that are paying for it, whether they're watching it or not.
Right. The Netflix retention model is taking over.
Hmm.
In other words, they use their analytics to understand what will retain subscribers.
that's all I know. I read books. I don't watch so much TV.
Okay. Keith, speaking of something that isn't necessarily popular on the show, what's this noise about crypto?
Whew.
When you say
I'm
this
I'm ready
noise,
for it.
are you thinking of something specific?
Yeah, I think there's this drumbeat of inevitability about crypto, which is beginning to sink in.
Yeah, well, look, crypto is huge bets are being made by people with mountains of money that crypto, broadly defined, represents the next version of the internet. And, it was announced today that Andreessen Horowitz just raised $9 billion for some new funds. And Andreessen is leading the charge on crypto with Jack Dorsey. That the fight between the two of them went on more this week. But I think the noise goes way beyond Bitcoin or tokens. And by the way, Tim O'Reilly's piece, which I put in my newsletter this week, is fantastic in that it accuses the crypto world of being disconnected from the real world and says that unless that gets fixed, crypto will be fake, which I agree with. But I think it will get fixed. I think basically NFTs represent the first real world application of crypto that anyone cares about. It's a bit esoteric, so most people don't, but enough people do to make it a real business. And OpenSea, the company at the center of NFTs, yesterday raised money valuing them at $13 billion. And they've only been around for just over a year. And that's because their revenues are blowing up. It's not because of buzz, it's the revenues. Because NFTs, it turns out, are real. Measured by money, they're real. So I think that crypto, we've got to start using crypto in this broader definition of the next version of the internet. Decentralized versus centralized is a really hard conversation because, you know, someone inclined to want to believe in decentralized, I have to admit that everything I've ever built has been centralized, even though I'm savvy enough to know how to not do it that way. And it's because the rules of building something decentralized are just, you know, a bit like Doc Searls did the Clue Train Manifesto. No one's really done that for this next version of the internet. So the rules are being made up and you can easily make mistakes or go down blind alleys. So I'm a bit conservative. I still do things in a centralized way. My new startup SignalRank is totally centralized, but I could have thought of a way to do it decentralized, but didn't. So I think we're not yet at the tipping point moment, and it is possible that it's still nothing, but I think it's highly unlikely that it's nothing. I think it's going to be something.
Wouldn't Facebook say that the third generation of the internet is going to be the metaverse?
Yeah, but they're wrong, because that involves you having to change your viewing device to something you wear on your face. And I don't think most of us are not going to do that. By the way, there was an interesting device this week that was just a screen on a pair of glasses that looked normal. And it links to your phone. And so now you can imagine a phone without a screen. And so instead of having AR or VR, it literally is just a screen that you see in your glasses. So I think Apple is the most savvy in this space, where they understand that the human body can be served separately with separate devices. The eyes don't need the same device as the ears, and the fingers don't need the same device as the eyes and the ears.
Well, they did announce that they were coming out with a new headset that in the $3,000 range, I think just last week.
Is that an announcement or just
I don't think that's an
widely believed
that's
rumor?
rumors.
Was that rumors? Okay.
It's a
Because
widely
I saw
believed rumor.
I did see some pictures of it, and I wonder if it was in conversation at that crazy CES convention.
What I can totally imagine is that the watch becomes the brain, that the eyes are served by something you wear, and the ears by something you wear, and there is no handheld. I can imagine that.
Yeah, I find that the most useful device in a notification-based world, which is the one that I live in, is the watch, not the phone.
Do you though then not find that a notification that hits your watch takes you immediately to your phone?
Well, it you know, the size of the notification, the payload is, you know, we're back to 140 characters basically.
Yeah.
But I think in a world where you're wearing something that shows you the notification, so that's the screen, and it's the glasses that were announced yesterday. I forget who did them, but you can't tell that it's a screen. There's no camera, by the way. It's not camera. It's just screen, and so it's passive, and it replaces the need for a screen. Once you've got that, even the watch doesn't need a screen. It just needs to be a band.
Yeah, and the same's true of I mean, AirPods is now what is it? It's clearly number 2 in terms of Apple's revenue. And you know, in a work from anywhere environment, having control of the audio allows people to be, you know, I mean, Tina and I work on you know, various things for the gang and sneak peeks, etc. And we're using multiple devices, and we're managing the discontinuity of sitting in our living room through AirPods. So AirPods and the watch have become, as I think you were saying just before, Keith, the hub.
You need a 65-inch touchscreen monitor.
Well, we have to wait until Brent invents what that's good for. And he's busy in his lab trying to justify this purchase, I think.
Can I put on the brakes and make a turn now, please?
Yes, you may.
So, Dennis, explain to me how Mercedes can come up with a new car that's got a battery that will go twice as far as the Tesla, as the best Tesla battery.
I hate that.
It's simply how many cells you put in series. So what really is the question is how big is the cavity that you can stick battery into, and can you stick the same cavity into a Prius? And the answer is probably no. You look at some of the biggest battery packs are in the biggest trucks. UPS has a growing fleet of electric trucks that can go, I think, 8 or 12 hours, and big battery. So the question becomes, how long is this lithium technology good for? And the answer is, there are people in labs all over the world trying to build new kinds of batteries with that are dry cells as opposed to wet cells, and weigh a great deal less and don't use toxic things like lithium.
So what do you think of I heard a story yesterday that big snowstorm in Washington that blocked all those cars for so many hours on I-95 would have been deadly for people in electric cars, because the cold affects the batteries in such a way that the cars themselves would just not go. Is that true?
You're absolutely right. Battery is a chemical device, and chemistry is significantly affected by temperature.
Come on, we all knew this from back in the 50s. You're trying to start your car on a cold day.
Leave me alone! Whoa, 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 whoa,
Not
whoa.
all of us. I'm sorry. Not all.
But
My car was in a garage.
by the way, just the facts on the Mercedes thing, because I'm obsessed with this right now, because I have not yet, but keep hovering my finger over buying an electric car. And so I read it with great interest, which drove me nuts because it made me not want to buy anything yet until that one comes out. But they basically did a smaller version of the Mercedes EQS, which is their current flagship electric car, which is just coming to the US now. Does about 400 miles, under 400 miles. They use the same battery technology, but smaller batteries used more efficiently through software to get the 1,000 kilometers from it. And actually the kilowatt hour rating of the battery is lower than the current model, but the miles per kilowatt hour was greater due to software efficiencies and also regenerative braking and things.
Right, exactly.
By the way, back in the late 60s, I had an Alfa Romeo that I could actually plug into the wall, and it would warm up the insides, it would warm up the oil in the car. So I could go out, the car wouldn't start, but I could plug it in, and about 20 minutes later, everything was warmed up enough to actually start.
Yep.
I don't think
you had a
anyone's
block heater.
Yeah.
Diesel engines. I knew people in the 80s who had diesel VWs who had to do the same thing every night during the winter. They left their car out, they had to plug the car in just so it kept the block warm enough to turn it over.
Do you know what the best performing electric vehicle stock was last year? Let's see who knows the answer to this.
I don't know.
Saab.
Ford. Ford stock went up over 100% last year.
Oh yeah, they've taken orders. They haven't delivered anything, but they've taken orders for that pickup truck going out of style.
Well, also the Mustang Mach-E, which has now been, you could buy that for the last year and a bit, is more or less sold out. It's a very good car as well.
Looks good. Looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So getting back to the I-95 question, that is actually a short-term problem for a couple of reasons. Number one, we don't have a fully deployed, anything close to a fully deployed charging network yet. And my belief is that the battery question is going to become irrelevant, not because we develop some technology that can go forever, but because we give up on that. We put a certain amount of battery in a car and we electrify the roads.
Hmm.
Are you
Maybe
saying
that's-
are you saying we should or we will?
I think we will. It's very much like charging your electric toothbrush. You know, you put it in the stand. There's no direct contact of copper to copper or anything like that. It's all done by induction, and there's no reason why you can't do that on a road. I think the University of Michigan and maybe some guys in Stuttgart have a mile or two of track that's built that way that they test cars on right now.
That should be part of the Buttigieg's plan in terms of rebuilding the roads.
You know, that I last year dealt with a German company that has produced concrete that can take in the sun's energy and convert it into electricity. And they're doing buildings that don't have solar panels because the whole external of the building is a huge solar panel, but it looks like concrete.
I didn't know Elon's brother-in-law was German.
Oh, he's working on that too. But this German company has been at it for a long time, and they're
It's a good idea.
yeah. And now imagine you could do that with roads, where the sun on the road produces power.
Wow.
Okay,
Well,
so
It won't
And
produce
then-
enough.
we're
and-
about 12 minutes from a hard stop for at least one person here. So raise your hand if you've got something that you want to jump into right now. Okay, go ahead.
I thought maybe, since you're heavily, interested in Clubhouse, what do you think the impact of LinkedIn seemingly being ready to have that same, at least live audio offering within their platform now? What does that mean for live audio, but also what does it mean for Clubhouse? Because it seems like every of the other big major platforms is baking in at least some level of live audio, opportunity there. So does that mean like Clubhouse, thank you for the idea, and now you wither away?
Well,
looks like it.
I'll say what I think last. Go ahead. Anybody else have an opinion?
In some ways,
I
this
think
is an
it seems
analog
like-
of the streaming video service problem. You don't know where your show is. You don't know if your show is on Hulu or Netflix or Disney Plus or any other service. And in the world of these audio shows, you're not going to know what platform it's on. So eventually,
Michael, there's this new invention called hyperlinks. You just click on them and you don't care where they go.
Yeah, but that
No.
hyperlinks are going away. It's that's old Web 2, Web 1.
Web 1, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that LinkedIn, because of what it is, it's more business oriented. I think that they can carve out something that will be worthwhile and not necessarily compete directly head to head with Twitter's version of it or Clubhouse's version or Clubhouse's platform. I think LinkedIn can do something different.
Anybody else have
I
a
agree with
thought?
that.
So you think that that's going to have any material impact? Oh, you also, Dennis. Do you think that's going to have any material impact on Clubhouse's survival, as was posed by Brent?
I think it'll help.
Well,
Explain.
Well, because it's another opportunity for a group of people who are in a different demographic to be utilizing a service like that. And I think that what that then will offer them an opportunity to say, this is interesting. Let's see what's going on over there in this space. And I think it will help.
Michael, you said something?
I was just drawing an analogy to the old mass market magazines like Life and Look. If Clubhouse is a service that has every kind of content, and there are, those magazines lost out to specialized magazines. And the same thing with the old general TV networks. They lost out to specialized networks on cable. I think probably that specialized networks on audio chat are going to have the same impact. People who are interested in the subject matter, it will be more concentrated if you go look for it on LinkedIn.
Okay, so my feeling is that Clubhouse is capitalized by the leader in Web3, Andreessen Horowitz. So I doubt seriously that it's going to go away. I think that basically Clubhouse is a media play that is only just beginning to have some impact on the mainstream media. I think that Clubhouse is well ahead in terms of adding features that will incentivize the middle of the long tail, whatever that's called, where there are people with audiences of 10,000 or 1,000 even that are heavily influencer based are going to become self-referential and build a solid middle around the replay option. In other words, it's not about live audio. It's about, because most people, myself included, are not going to be getting up on stage in these 10, 20,000 or even 1,000 audiences. It's unmanageable.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people who are wanting to convert it into the LinkedIn model, basically. So I think LinkedIn will be very successful. I think that Facebook will be less successful because they've got too much on their plate trying to sell, carburetors on your forehead. And I think Twitter will continue to lag in terms of copying the best of what Clubhouse is producing, but will over time, not catch up, but achieve the kind of parity. I mean, we've done a couple of conversations on Spaces that one with Keith, which is fascinating. It's about an hour and 40 minutes, and it's unreleasable. And in a few weeks, it'll disappear. I mean, we've got it obviously backed up through the record capability, but it's not going to be available on the network. So that breaks the law of, the web of URLs disappearing. So that has to be fixed, and there's got to be a business model that supports it. So,
by the way, why is it unreleasable? Because it's an hour and 40 minutes.
Well, I haven't got time for it. Do you?
I was there live. I caught most of it.
I already did it.
It's called editing.
But my point is that it is a file in the Twitter Spaces format, which at the end of 30 days, which is probably tomorrow, is going to disappear.
Right. So
that's not a platform yet. But that doesn't mean that, on Clubhouse, you can post something. I did a conversation with Doc Searles about Clue Train and the death of one of its founders, Christopher Locke, and it's on the network. I was able to publish it immediately, just push a button, and that model will migrate to Twitter, and it will become substantial. Twitter also, evidently, I haven't seen evidence of this. They have active live transcripts now.
I agree with a lot of what you said, Steve. It occurs to me, I mean, all of us here who've ever built anything with a team, that you create a DNA very early in the life of a company. You create a DNA that is like what you're about. And it becomes very hard to escape that DNA later. So you need to get it right. And, Twitter's DNA and LinkedIn's DNA are very specific. And so they can add features, but they're adding features around a core DNA. It feels to me like Clubhouse's DNA is audio as a service. Interactivity is a feature of that. With Clubhouse, I could imagine us abandoning, not that we'll do this, but we could abandon Zoom and Restream and just go to Clubhouse and do the gang on Clubhouse. We benefit from an audience. Let's say 100 people would show up to every live recording. Some of those people would be interesting and have things to say. We could choose or not choose to bring them into the show. It's a ready-made platform, but I could also use it for conference calls for my business, private. It's audio as a service, and the number of use cases it can support are massive, and its DNA is audio as a service.
Right, but right now they're trying to build audiences, so the record capability is not available on a private conference. So
yeah, stupid.
I think LinkedIn will come. I don't think it's stupid. I just think it's where we are right now.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, on the other hand, is going to be building it almost exactly the opposite. They're going to start with those kinds of business conferences, and then as their scale improves, they're going to build out.
Yeah. Actually, that goes back to the creator economy thing, which is, I was going to say it when we were talking about it, but I think the enterprise creator economy is bigger than the consumer creator economy.
Well, I don't know about that, but Brent, we have a time problem here with.
I don't think it's going to be bigger than the consumer or the personal, but I do think it's going to be very significant. Enterprise is always, it's hard. It's harder for them to fully embrace what this stuff can bring. They'll kind of dip a toe in, but still they want to control. And that's the problem with the enterprise. They can't help their urge to want to try to control and take over. And that's what will hold them back from doing what we're seeing on the personal side, I think.
Yeah. I'm thinking of this company, Miro, M-I-R-O.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Miro got valued at 10 billion plus yesterday.
Oh,
and what Miro does is kind of whiteboarding.
Yeah.
And it's enterprise creator tools, basically. So it's not audio, it's not video, but it's still creator. Yeah. And I think that Figma is in that space. There's a whole bunch of companies that are not thought of as creator tools, but that's what they are.
Quick last thoughts from Dennis and Michael.
You want to go first, Michael?
Yes, my last thoughts are the audience will rule. I have no idea who's going to succeed, but people will find what they want, and that will succeed.
I posted an article at Medium today, and I put it into the feed, the Telegram feed. I think the title was something like, "Is Elizabeth Holmes a sociopath?" And I make my case. I think she's right now tainting Silicon Valley. Not that it doesn't deserve to come down a peg or two, but I think the accusations against Silicon Valley and its culture, based on what she did, are bogus. Anyhow, maybe we can talk about that some more later.
Yeah, that's a great story.
We could do that on Clubhouse, Keith. You and
me and Dennis could rip each other apart on Clubhouse.
Exactly.
I'll bring my cats.
Yeah, Dennis has experience.
Okay, Frank, last thoughts.
We lost Sidney Poitier today, and I think that that it's worth mentioning, and not only a great actor, but a really terrific human being. And look, he had, was he 94? I think. Good long life, made a big difference. First Black man ever to win an Oscar. I felt really bad when I heard that news, but not so bad, because a lot of our greats are losing their lives now at the end of many, many years.
Eddie White.
Yeah.
Among others.
All right, I want to thank Frank Radis. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Steve, and everybody.
I want to thank Keith Tier,
Pleasure to be here.
Michael Markman.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we were waiting there for a while.
It's true.
Yes.
We did a show before you came in.
Oh,
Yeah,
what did you
luckily
cover?
it wasn't recorded. Thanks to Dennis.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Looking forward to another wonderful year with you all.
And last but certainly not least, what's your name again? Oh, yes, Brent Leary.
I talk so much that I think I might not talk the next show. So.
Oh.
No, you were too
Oh,
good.
no.
You were
No.
Oh, see, Brent, I thought that was a resolution.
Well, I fulfilled it for this week, so all bets are off now.
Is that
I like-
because you didn't do any other shows today? Is that the reason?
Yeah, I had a lot more energy.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to thank our producer and director.
And wish her a happy birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday. Happy New Year. Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Tomorrow. Yay. And great show, guys. Lots of fun.
Okay, it's good to be still alive, and thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see them and you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Chow mein.
Chowda.
Chowda.
Oh, there she is.
Chowda.
And-
Yeah, that was a fun show, guys.
Has
And
That's good.
yes.
any